Got to get further away from my notes so old guys can read them. So some of you had that same problem, huh? All right. When Kathy Rollins' phone number shows up on my telephone, I get sweaty palms. She's the program director here at RCC, and through the years, she's called me several times, and every time I knew it was something that was going to make me feel uncomfortable, something where I was going to have to step out and do something outside of that zone. But Kathy, thank you, because it gives us that chance to be with God and be uncomfortable and let Him take our hand and take us through that moment. It teaches us to trust Him. I've committed to supporting RCC in any way that they ask. There have been times I've balked, even grumbled, but I know there's a reason that I was asked. So I now accept the request with a smile and try to give my best for God. I'm Kim Shady. I want to tell you my faith story as it relates to This Is Us series that we're currently in the middle of. Specifically, I want to talk about inviting, connecting, and worship. I came to RCC the first time on the church's first anniversary celebration. It's kind of a story that fits really well with our current series about inviting. See, someone took the time to walk through our neighborhood and put door hangers on every house. We come home one day and there's this door hanger with balloons and says there's this big celebration going on. Well, our family, my wife Diane, my daughters Joelle and Sarah, had been looking for a new church for nearly a year. And we looked at this and said, maybe this is the one. We were looking for a church that more closely aligned ourselves with the experiences we had with a Christian youth group called Young Life. Our first minutes at RCC were memorable. Some guy with a huge smile, a warm handshake, and a sincere welcome greeted us at that door. And they call him Barry Zabel, and I love him. Then the worship band started. We recognized a bunch of the songs from being from Young Life. And it was just a few songs into the morning when I looked down the row, and there it was, 4 Shadys crying. I thought I'd get through this one without crying, but all 4 Shadys are crying because we found a home. We knew that this was our place. See, I was blessed to grow up in a family that believed, or at least on Sundays we believed. And I believed in God from a young age, but I never knew the importance of Jesus until I was nearly 40 years old. Here begins another story about inviting. Starting to get the idea that inviting is important to all of us. Throughout my late 20s and 30s, Diane and I were constantly pestered or invited by local leaders of Young Life to become volunteer leaders for high school students. Young Life's an international ministry helping teenagers learn about the love of Jesus, developing a relationship with Jesus, and connecting with others so that those students can connect with others to do the same thing. But we kept using excuses that we didn't have time. We had to spend it with our elementary age children. And eventually, those Young Life leaders, they went away and they stopped pestering us or inviting us. But once Joelle reached high school, guess who was knocking on my door again? And this time, Diane and I didn't have a chance to hide behind a big rock because we were out of excuses. We didn't have any. So we got involved. It was the best invitation I've ever accepted. I learned about Jesus' love, about the chance for me to have a relationship. It was incredible that I could have a relationship with Jesus. I couldn't get enough. Suddenly, I was a youth leader. My role was to tell high schoolers how they could have a relationship with Jesus. Yet, I was only a sentence or two ahead of them in the learning curve. There's only one way that could have happened. God had my hand. Well, maybe there was a second way. God connected me to a small group of believers and followers that showed me a different way to live my life. They were the leaders of the Young Life group, and two of those people are regular attendees here at RCC. I want to just say thank you. This is my 15th time today I've cried. Nobody's counting though, right? I want to say thank you to Stan Brink and Shannon Rogers, because you led Young Life kids. Maybe thousands of Ripon High School students were touched by you. And you touched me too. And you showed me how to love Jesus in ways I never thought I could. I want to share another story that involves inviting and connecting. In our first year at RCC, Diane and I were having lunch with Pastor Mike. At the end of that lunch, he invited us to join a small group, or as we currently call them, a community group. My original thought, no way. I am not going to a Bible study to let other people know how little I know about the Bible. I'm not going to share my inner thoughts with other people. And there's no way this guy is going to be vulnerable with a group of people he doesn't even know. I'm not doing this. But it only took 2 weeks until God just poured it right here and said, you need to do this, Kim. What a great decision. What a great decision it was for me. Before small group, I had many times opened my Bible, but I'd just get frustrated because I didn't understand it. I didn't have anybody to ask questions. I didn't know what it meant, and I'd put it away. And a couple years would go by, and I'd pick it up again, and I'd get frustrated again. But once I got in a small group, and we started taking it apart, sometimes sentence by sentence, and there were people around me who had other ideas, and maybe they had a different style of Bible that was more of a teaching Bible, I really learned. It broke me down, and I wanted more. My heart was really swelling with love. So I say, get connected in some small way. Just get started. You know, you're never going to win if you don't step onto the field. So just get started. As my heart was swelling with a special love for Jesus that a 40-year-old guy never knew could happen, I started to learn about worship. I didn't know this relationship included conversations and singing songs from my heart. See, I love singing. I'm not very good at it, but I do love singing. It was maybe 10 years ago on a snowy January Sunday. Pastor Mike stood up here and invited everybody at RCC to sing and give praise with a purpose. Most people don't sing loudly in church, maybe mouth the words. But don't feel weird or embarrassed. Heck, the people that usually sit or stand in front of me know that I can't sing, and I always sing loud. I saw somebody raise their hand. That's where I always sit over there. So don't be afraid to sing loudly and proudly, even if you are off key, because I always am. I sing worship songs with my heart, though. Much like I yell for joy when the Brewers do something great. 10 years ago, Pastor Mike invited everybody here to praise God in worship songs as vigorously as we praise our favorite sport teams. It's God. Why can't we sing and be loud and joyous? But worship is more than singing proudly on Sundays. Every day I praise Jesus in some little burst. Sometimes it just recognizes the experience around me, surrounding me possibly with a wink from God. I really like that term, God wink. And I learned it in a small group from John Olson. Throughout my day, I look for little things to be thankful for. It slows me down, it connects me to Jesus, and it keeps me humble to remember that everything that I do was provided by Jesus. None of my successes were caused by me. Giving thanks to praise and praise to Jesus is easy. I invite you to look for reasons to share this thanks and praise. You could just do it as simple as this. Jesus, I'm a sinner. Today I'm humbled to be the vehicle for sharing your word. Looking at the future, sometimes I wonder why we look at the future, because God always has a plan, but we always seem to be guessing what it is wrongly. But I'm going to guess at maybe what my future holds related to my faith. I probably will see an international mission trip. It'll have to be at the right time, but I feel it calling at me. And community groups. We've never led a community group, but I think it's time for us to lead a community group, because as I got ready to prepare for this, I realized how important community groups are and how we all need to be a part of one, and I guess it's time for us to step up and become a leader. But the most important thing about my future is that I need to be listening, and I need to be ready to accept whatever God tosses at me. Thank you.